Hello. I'm beginning to make my attempt to do the right thing. Um, the reason for the existence of my enterprise is to preserve what needs to be preserved and to help maintain what needs to be preserved and maintained for the health and wellness and benefit of the present, to redeem the past, to and to have the future be something to be looked forward to be lived for. I, through the story of how I have come to be and how my work has come to be, am attempting to, by example, to present and bring forth into existence a way of living, of being, um, that hopefully inspires doing the right thing to begin with, and the purpose of this is to bring forth a way of living that sustains life and can be subsisted by all that is good, that's healthy, that's worthy of being preserved as values, but not only just now, but for generations to come. To preserve the values, which is timeless and has sustained life and is most likely to preserve and sustain life in the changing times, being how things are, for how things could be, in a way that inspires healthy, virtuous pillars of the earth. I speak not just for me, but for all those who have inspired life and how, for all those who have been before me and who have, through their strives and struggles and through their whatnots, strive to maintain life and from whom life has come to us for us to be amongst the living, doing what we can, honoring what what they brought forth and is now our lot to preserve and to pass on in richness, in in its in its value, which may be quite immeasurable for generations to come. I speak for the tree of life. I speak for all of life in all its forms. I speak as the voice of the voiceless, for the voiceless. I come by the various nuances and meanderings through life that has been pretty much not voiced. It's through the struggles of everyday living. So I speak by the voiceless and I speak with the forces that shapes, nourishes, nurtures life, and a lot of it may not have yet come into words, but there are words that shapes our reality, that shapes our um, our stories of life, that shapes what we what becomes possible or not. I speak with that which is not so much voiced and trying to find words by which to present, to bring forth what has always been there in the fabric of our everyday existence. that makes up the material that we call life, that is part and parcel of what has us have a beating heart, have us have a respiratory rhythm, have us have the body with which we we move around, we eat, we sleep, we do our everydayness, that has us be human. And a lot of that is speaking in a language that may not be familiar to the words that we have learned through our um, through our evolutionary processes, through sounds, through images, but now which we think is the only language that is there with which to converse. I speak the language of the body. I am referring to the language of the body, and the language of the body is pretty much the language of life, and which is always there, is being spoken, can be heard, but we are not able to hear because we think only the language of words is the language with which we can communicate, is the language that is there to be heard, and perhaps is the only language that we are largely hearing. I speak, I refer to, I invite through my work, encouraging everybody to begin to learn, to understand, to hear, and to reciprocate to the language of life. And learning this language is very essential to remembering who we are, where we belong, where we come from on this ball of life called Earth. So, this is my story, and I hope in this story, through the story, you begin to see some reflections of your own self and of the struggles and the trials and tribulations that it takes to be amongst the living, that it's okay, that that struggles, trials, and tribulations are part of how of what it takes for us to become who we need to become, to realize the value of what we have, and that everything that happens for a reason, and it all adds up. There is material within everything that happens that can be fuel to who we need to become, to who we are, to realize the value of what we have, and to become the best version of who we are. I tell my story for us to realize the value of life support call. The story begins, well, kind of, has been an important point of this story has been a disillusion where life as I knew it came to um, came came to a certain disorientation where things just loosened itself apart, and I had to figure out which is true, which is false, which what sustains, what does not, who's there in my life, who's friend, who's a foe, who's teacher, who's a parent, who's a sibling, who's anybody. Who am I? What is trust? To the point of coming to see, why am I even existing? What's the purpose of my existence? I am amongst the living, and why am I amongst the living? Why am I being preserved? Why is life preserving me? What's the purpose of my existence? In about the year 2007, um, I, well, 2005 or so, I asked the question, maybe 2006, um, on what do I have? I mean, I have all of these things going on, and there was this question of where am I headed towards? And and there was slight hintling of why of me just doing my job kind of thing. And and I had this question, what do I have? And a few months down, my cup of life got pretty nicely stirred. Well, so that I begin to see, to actually examine, what do I actually have in life? What do I have? And everything came into question: my relationships, um, um, trust, emotions, um, and who I am, and what do I have, and what am I about? And all of those questions, at some point, I contemplated the idea of, why do I need to be alive? Do I need to be alive? Does it matter to anybody if I'm alive or not? I suppose that was the point when I kind of hit bottom, perhaps rock bottom, because then I had to question a very fundamental question of existence: on why am I here? And from there, I began to start thinking that I don't really know why I'm here, but I am. As a fact, I do occupy some space. I am here. And I may not know exactly why I'm here, but whosoever thinks it worth it, we call creator, I have not seen, but um, whoever thought it worth for me to be amongst the living, I must, at least in terms of value, be able to see a good investment. I mean, it takes something to keep me amongst the living. I mean, I do occupy space, and anything I do, I'm disturbing somebody. I mean, I am disturbing something or somebody. So, given that um, I am amongst the living, to think on what would have it be worth the investment. So, I figured I might as well be a good citizen. But then I had to look at, what does good mean. I figured out good means productive, and to be a productive citizen for the country, because I was at the age when I would be considered a citizen. And then I thought, um, it can't just be for the country, because I'm in this planet that is alive, and I can't just be of a of a country, because I mean, there's life everywhere, and I happen to be in this country. I don't know. So whoever has me be here amongst the living might as well be productive for Earth, for life, to have the Creator be proud for having created me. So that um, so that gives gave me gives me a reason by which to be in the world, and on how I'd rather be in this world, if I am to be in this world anyways. And I figured I have a lot to give, from where I come, what I have, how I came to be, who brought me to this world. I have a lot. And even though there is this question of, why am I here, it's a good question to ask every now and then, I find. And that brings me back to a point of ground zero, of nothing, from which to again see, what do I have? Why am I here? Who am I with? Why am I with these people at this point in time? Gives me substance, from which to substance, value, not just for me, but for this moment in time. Because of the fact that I am living and amongst the living at this point in time. And every day changes, every date changes. It's a new date. And that is proof that time is moving. And at this point in time, I'm alive. So, what do I bring forth? What do I have to bring forth to what there is right now? And the least that I can do is to do the right thing and to discover what I have, not just within me, but also around me, by which to do the right thing. And I find that I'm not alone. Everybody who exists in their own way are trying to do the right thing in their own way, to the extent and to the extent that they have discerned or could discern of being able to do the right thing, of being able to add value, to contribute. And I find that's the fundamental reason for existence, of value inherent. And and by the process of adding value, becoming valuable. Incidentally, I find that's a very healthy way of living, one that is sustained by life and can also sustain life and does sustain life and preserve that which needs to be preserved, not just for me, but for generations to come and for people around me and for life as is and could be with all that life has been. Do stay tuned um, with the work that I do. Um, best is yet to be, the best is in the making. I am certainly work in progress, and I hope you are too, and you come to see who and what and why are you, and what you bring to this world and can bring to this world by the fact of your existence.